Howdy guys, and welcome to night 66 of the Overnight Feeds recaps for Big Brother Season 24. And welcome to Cliff Notes. A good Saturday to y'all. Such an exciting episode on Thursday, all the drama that took place. Well, it continues. We had a little bit of expect the unexpected. Well, we certainly had that overnight. For those of you who don't know, we already have a veto winner. It's amazing. It took place at 5 o'clock in the morning, Big Brother time. We're going to talk about that. But before we do, let's talk about what happened up to the veto competition, because there are a lot of conversations occurring beforehand that are important as well. Now, first of all, as a bit of a reminder, remember that Thursday night, really Friday morning, early in the morning, Monty won his HOH. We did have nominations yesterday. Feeds returned, late afternoon, and we learned that the nominees were Brittany and Alyssa, with Brittany as the primary target, the main target. Really no surprise there. We were expecting to see just that. So Brittany and Alyssa on the block. It all comes down to this veto competition. All right, so as soon as we get the feeds back from the nomination ceremony, almost immediately Brittany is asking Monty for a one-on-one. They head upstairs to the HOH room to talk about it. Brittany's again trying to explain away some of her recent comments, her double dealing with everyone in the house. Trying to explain that I didn't mean anything. It wasn't a big deal. None of that was serious. Don't pretend it. Just pretend it didn't happen, because none of that was real, Monty. Don't worry about it. That's what she's trying to say. She's saying that with regards to this conversation with Turner, she's saying, look, me and Turner, a final two, that makes zero sense. Why would anyone ever treat that seriously, or that's a real thing? She's saying it wasn't actually a final two. It just was a misunderstanding between Turner and I regret having the talk. Well, it wasn't really a misunderstanding. It was just Brittany trying to protect herself from everyone by making fake alliances, including a fake final two with Turner. We knew she wasn't going to ever actually honor it, so it wasn't really a final two. But that's not what she was telling Turner, and now she's paying the price for that. So she said, yeah, it wasn't real. Just misunderstanding. That's all it was, Monty. Brittany's also trying to explain why she wouldn't be the best person to send home this week. She's telling Monty that Alyssa and Alyssa and Taylor are tight, and if Brittany goes home, it would be a 2 versus 2 situation. Basically, Alyssa and Turner. Did I say Alyssa and Taylor? Let me just start all over. Brittany is saying that Alyssa and Turner are tight, as we know, and if Brittany goes home, it would be a 2 versus 2 situation. Alyssa and Turner on one side, Monty and Taylor on the other side, and then it all comes down to who wins that veto. And you don't want that, Monty, right? Why keep Alyssa when you know she's going to be lined up against you next week? So that's the pitch that she's making. She also is denying these claims that Alyssa's supposed to have been making, that she and Michael were targeting Monty beforehand. There were a lot of people targeting Monty. I think rather than just completely denying things, at this point the game has changed so much. Just say, yeah, back a few weeks ago, sure, everyone's looking at targets and all that. Now everything's changed. Just because of something a while back. But she's not doing that. She's saying, nah, you can believe Alyssa or you can believe me, but we weren't ever targeting you, Monty. That wasn't in our game plan. She's also saying that her and Michael, she's saying, look, we didn't mean everything that we said. There are a lot of things you may have heard or we may have talked about. Doesn't mean that we actually meant it. Well, duh. It's Big Brother. I think everyone knows that not everything it's said is always meant, but she's trying to kind of cover her bases with that as well. Brittany is saying that she shared everything with Michael, all these conversations. Remember, we heard earlier, she basically was trying to blame a lot of this on Michael, saying Michael was the one telling me to go talk to Turner. Michael was the one telling me to go talk, all the different things. Oh, no, it wasn't that. It was Brittany covering her bases in case something happened with her and Michael being on the block, as we saw. But she's saying that she shared everything with Michael, and that she really realizes now she should have shared more with Monty and Alyssa as well. And Monty's concerned about that. But she also tries to get away from that quickly by saying, look, Alyssa's been throwing your name around everywhere, Monty, just so you know. Don't think that Alyssa's not looking at you as a target. Brittany's also saying that she hopes that Monty realizes that there were multiple times that that she and Taylor could have flipped the votes to get Monty out, but they chose not to do it. They chose to protect Monty, and hint, hint, imply that now it's your time to save me a little bit, Monty, as well, because we protected you earlier in the season. All right, we've got Brittany also talking a little bit about Taylor, saying, look, Taylor, Michael and I were tight, but she's saying Taylor was just almost as tight with Michael as I was, and also saying that Taylor is the one that said, girls together, we gotta stick together at this point in time, and how Taylor was saying that she didn't want a boys club, and she's kind of right. I do recall Taylor saying we can't let Monty and Turner railroad us through the rest of this season. We've got to do something about it. So Brittany's not incorrect in some of her statements here, but so far Brittany has thrown Alyssa under the bus, Turner under the bus, Taylor under the bus. Is there anyone left? Nah, not really. She's throwing them all under the bus to different levels. She's following that Sandra Diaz from Survivor philosophy of anyone but me. That's all that matters at this point, anyone but me. All right, so they wrap up their one-on-one, and at this point we now have Alyssa doing a one-on-one with Monty also. Alyssa's treating this a little bit different than Brittany. Brittany's trying to pose this as you could end up with 2 versus 2, 2 split sides of the house. You don't want that. Alyssa seems to be playing this more as a, look, this is everyone versus Brittany. Why would you save Brittany? We all want her gone. Then it'll be a Final Four with all of us who are comfortable with each other. She's saying that she and Taylor are good now. That earlier maybe they had some issues, that she feels like Joseph and maybe some others had created some situations where Alyssa and Taylor weren't always able to work together, that they were kind of pit against each other. But she says, yeah, Taylor and I talked it out. We're fine. We're good now. You don't have to worry about it. We're both on board with you, Monty. She is talking, as much as Brittany's throwing people under the bus, Alyssa's doing just the opposite. Alyssa's saying, look, I never heard Taylor bad-mouthing you or Turner, either one. I mean, she just hadn't talked about that kind of stuff with me, said anything bad about either one of you. Different strategy, but here's it. Is it smart? I mean, you don't necessarily always want to throw other people under the bus, but is it smart to convince Monty that he and Turner can trust Taylor even more based on what Alyssa is saying? Because no matter what happens this week, at some point, you kind of want Monty and Turner not to feel like they're best buds with Taylor, right? But Alyssa's very much kind of protecting Taylor in front of Monty. Monty has appreciation for Alyssa's honesty. He says, I thank you for being honest. He says, Brittany kind of did just the opposite. He said she kind of backtracked a little bit even in some of her statements, and she's still trying to cover up and just not really telling the truth. And he's also complaining and said, look, it's not just a matter of Brittany lying when you ask her a question that is difficult and all that. He says she actively approaches me with lies. She's very aggressive in approaching me with the lies and all that. So that's just a whole different level of what's happening. Alyssa follows that up by saying that she hates talking to Brittany, that Brittany always tries to get information out of her, that once she gets information out of her, she stretches it into something else, spins it into something else. We've heard other people complain about that during the season before, about Brittany and Michael both doing that. And it's true. They take the little tidbit of information and try to build a whole story around it. So Alyssa's saying, I hate doing that. She finishes up her conversation by saying, I'm not going to be mean to Brittany. I'll be nice to her, but I'm going to be sharing zero game with her. We're not on the same side, Monty, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm not working with Brittany. Well, we'll see how everything turns out. All right, finally, we've got Brittany not on a one-on-one with Monty. She's already did that. Now a one-on-one with herself, with the cameras, with us as viewers. She's having one of her little soliloquies that she has every once in a while, where she's a very sad Brittany, and she's talking to the cameras about losing Michael, how alone she is now, how dangerous it is to come into this game, to this house, thinking that you can make friends, that she maybe put friendship over strategy, and just a whole lot of kind of woe is me, life is horrible in the Big Brother house and all that. I get all of that. I get the stress. I get feeling alone. I get feeling like your game's in danger. all of that, I understand. But really, a lot of this, it's Brittany's fault and responsibility, right? She burned her game with so many people by overplaying, overpromising. She was so attached to Michael's game that she really didn't develop her own game until she was feeling at risk. And by then, she tried to develop her game with everyone, and we know how that turned out, right? So yes, I understand feeling like you've got no one in the house and such, but a lot of it has to do with the way the game has been played up until this point. All right, with that being said, we've got Monty and Alyssa and Brittany eating together while Turner and Taylor are sleeping in the dining room. I think sleeping or in the DR. Taylor at one point, apparently this HOH competition, this Spook House themed competition, really did a number on Taylor. She's got some past stuff that leads her to not really like scary horror type situations. And there was talk earlier about her seeing a therapist to talk about it a little bit and work things out. You know, CBS understands how Big Brother Productions understands how stressful this can be, and I will say they have a psychologist that's there available when you need to talk to people, and apparently Taylor is availing herself of that opportunity. But anyway, Turner and Taylor are elsewhere. The three of them are eating dinner together. Eventually, we've got Brittany and Alyssa crawling into bed together, not in the same bed, but side by side in that golf bedroom. It's at like 7:30 in the evening. Big Brother is so lax with the sleeping this year. And I think it's funny. Brittany's throwing Alyssa under the bus. Alyssa's throwing Brittany under the bus. And yet they're still there side by side in the golf bedroom and all that. Hey, so they crawl into bed. And at that point, we've got Monty and Taylor starting to talk in the HOH room. Taylor's being very dismissive of Alyssa, saying, look, Alyssa doesn't have any gameplay. Her game was all Kyle. Once Kyle's gone, she really has nothing. She's also, or Monty's talking about Brittany and his conversation with her and saying, look, every time I talk to Brittany, I get more sketched out just by everything she's saying, the things she's trying to suggest, knowing what she's saying that's not true and all. He said, she worries me every time I talk to her. Taylor in turn mentions about Brittany being so aware of everything that's going on. And she brings up the fact that Brittany apparently recognized or knew who Turner was as soon as he got in the house. And I think it has to do with some article that he was in that somehow Brittany had found. I still haven't heard this whole story, but Brittany knew who Turner was. And just, again, Taylor kind of pointing out that Brittany studies and knows a lot about everything, Monty. So, keep that in mind. Monty's talking about Brittany's comments that Taylor was setting up this girls' alliance, even though Alyssa was saying that Taylor hadn't said a word about the girls' alliance, but he does mention it to Taylor, and that Brittany just seems to be going off the wall. Taylor says, no, I did not do that. She says, actually, Alyssa's the one who was pushing hardest for the girls' alliance. It wasn't me. It was Alyssa who's pushing for it. So again, Monty's hearing different stories from different people. At this point, I think Monty starts covering all the different things that Brittany's lied about. Brittany is the biggest target going into this veto competition. They all realize how much Brittany's been leading them all and playing them all at this point in time. All right, now we've got Alyssa eventually comes up into the HOH room to join Monty and Taylor, and was Turner up there as well? I can't remember. I think so. Anyway, eventually Turner gets up there. There's more conversation about all of Brittany's lies that she's had. Eventually, Brittany gets up there, so the Brittany bashing stops at that point in time, and it just turns to a whole lot of non-game talk conversations. Eventually, Monty gets called to the storage room. He comes back with a shirt and a little bit more alcohol. It was so late when he won HOH that I think the stores and everything weren't even allowed to sell alcohol anymore, so Monty had to wait a little bit. They've got more alcohol in this house, this hard cider and everything. They still have a lot of stuff that Michael had gotten during his multiple reigns that didn't get drunk. So they've got alcohol if they want it. But anyway, Monty's got a lot more, and he had said he wanted more. He was upset he didn't get it earlier, so he's got that. And so they start talking about jury, wondering as everyone's getting to the jury house who may be over there lying about their games, lying about things that happened. And I think they feel like pretty much everyone over there may be spinning things a little bit to their situation. There is some talk about Terrence kind of making fun of his game, saying he waited too long to play, that he didn't really have a game plan. He just kind of went with the flow. Alyssa's still a little upset that she's heard that Terrence had said some things about her that she didn't like hearing. So they're making fun of Terrence and the way he played just a little bit. Eventually, we get Turner redecorating the HOH room for Monty. He moves his sunglasses and shoes and pictures and makes a little display and all that. Just them having fun upstairs in the middle of the, not too much in the middle of the night as you'll find out, but doing that a little bit. They're also talking about which brands they want to work with when they get out. So many people, as soon as they get into this game, they think it's just going to lead to this career as an influencer, all these opportunities to promote, and for some of them it will. But they're all excited about prospects when they get out of the Big Brother house. Now, Taylor asked an interesting question. She says, all right, guys, would you rather finish in 4th place and get a week in jury, or would you rather go ahead and go out in 3rd place? Well, of course, everyone answers, I want to finish in 3rd. Who's going to volunteer to go out in 4th place in this game? They all say 3rd rather than 4th. Now, just as an FYI for you, coming from someone who got booted, came in 4th place, the 4th place winner doesn't get to spend a week in jury. The 4th place winner gets to spend a week all alone in sequester, waiting for the finale night a week later. So, yeah, I definitely would have picked 3rd over 4th when it came down to it. All right, there's talk about which disasters they'd rather be in: earthquakes, tornadoes, tsunamis, or which ones I guess they wouldn't want to be in. So, yeah, I'd say I've been in earthquakes, I've been in tornadoes, I've been in hurricanes. I think I'll leave the tsunamis alone, but it's just random talk here and there. They're talking about the house guests from this season that they would not want to live with on a permanent situation. Nicole and Daniel and Terrence seem to be the consensus choices, except for Turner. And we know who Turner's choice is of who he wouldn't want to live with, right? Yeah, it's Jasmine. I'll buy it. Hey, CBS, you want to put a little sitcom together of Turner and Jasmine forced to live together in the real world? I'll watch it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So anyway, so we have that. Eventually, we end up with Turner, Alyssa, Taylor, and Monty playing Chinese checkers. Brittany has already gone to bed. Apparently, Big Brother told him, said, look, you may want to get some sleep. It may be an early morning for the veto competition. So Brittany's already in bed. The rest of them are playing Chinese checkers. They're talking about what they would do with the money if they won this thing. And, they all have different ideas about what they'd want to do. All fine, good ideas. Finally, there's a conversation. We lose Alyssa, and again, Brittany's already gone. And we lose Taylor. It's a conversation between Turner and Monty. There's talk about what would be better to go along with Monty and Turner. Would they be better off with Alyssa? Would they be better off with Taylor as their 3rd for going forward? No real answer right at that point in time. But Turner, they're both trying to spin it. Turner obviously is a little tighter with Alyssa. Monty's a little bit tighter with Taylor. Turner's saying that, hey, look, Alyssa would stick with the guys if it came down to it. And he says, I hope that Taylor's being honest with us, that she wants to play as well. I know Alyssa is. Taylor, I hope she is. Turner's thinking that if Alyssa or Brittany were to win veto, he's saying Taylor would go up if one of them pulls themselves off the block. A lot, right? And Monty says, yeah, most likely. Well, saying most likely instead of saying, oh, yeah, absolutely, that would worry me if I was Turner just a little bit, because it suggests to me that Monty's not completely decided that it would be Taylor going up in place of Monty if one of the two girls won veto. We'll see if that comes into play or not. All right, eventually Monty says that he thinks that himself and Turner and Taylor would be best to go to the end, while Turner is thinking himself and Monty and Alyssa. So again, we've got this idea, a little conflict between the two of them about who to take on as a 3rd. We'll see how that works out. Monty is saying, I hope that's not an issue. I hope the nominations stay the same. We don't have to worry about it. Monty's also saying that he would just soon not win this one because he doesn't want to have to make those kind of decisions. He wants Turner or Taylor to win veto, keep noms the same, and so he doesn't have to vote. If he does have to vote, then he has said that he will go ahead and send Brittany out. If Taylor was to flip her vote, well, not flip, but if Taylor was to vote to try to save Brittany, Turner would vote out, or to save Alyssa, Turner would vote out Brittany, so it's a tie, And Monty's saying, yeah, in that case, I'm sending Brittany home. I'm not sending Alyssa home at that point in time. So with that being said, all house guests in bed by 12:30 or so Big Brother time. It's amazing. Big Brother said go to bed a little bit earlier, and they kind of followed along and did it. So they're all in bed watching the feeds to see what happens. And sure enough, 5 o'clock in the morning, the feeds cut for about an hour or so. And when they get back, we find out they've already played veto. Yeah, I've never heard of a veto competition at 5 o'clock in the morning. Must have been a sunrise festival theme or something. I don't know what the theme was. I don't know why they woke them up that early. Did it have to do with getting video ready for production and such? Have something to do with the Queen passing and changes in schedule? I don't know if it's that or if some kind of thing. Maybe it's just because the temperature's probably supposed to be 120 degrees or something in LA today. And so they wanted to get it done. It was only an hour, which tells me it wasn't one at a time. It was some kind of combined competition. It could be hanging onto the rope, spinning around. Like, we don't know yet. We don't know anything about the competition, but I'm kind of bearing the lead because it's not the competition as much as who won, right? Well, we do have the winner, and the winner of the veto competition is Brittany. Brittany wins a veto competition. We're not going to hear the end of it. Brittany now saying more that she is the leading comp winner amongst all the women in the house. We'll hear that a few times, right, this week? Yeah, you know we will. Brittany has won the veto. You know she'll pull herself off the block, right? So it's going to be Alyssa versus either Taylor or Turner. What is Monty going to do? Monty's worst nightmare, I think, at this point. Yeah, worse. If Alyssa had won, Brittany's still on the block. They send Brittany out. No worries. Brittany winning is Monty's absolute worst scenario. I'm not really sure what Monty's going to do. Does he want Alyssa gone? Probably, because then it forces Turner to be that much tighter with Monty, because he knows that Turner and Alyssa are tight. So get rid of Alyssa, bring Turner a little bit closer to you. But on the other hand, next week, the competition isn't as much about who wins HOH. It's who wins veto. Whoever wins the Final Four veto competition guarantees them a spot in the Final Three, and almost certainly gets to pick who goes home that particular week. It's all about the veto competition. And does Monty really want to be competing for that veto against Turner or Taylor instead of competing against Alyssa, who we know he knows he can beat Alyssa, or thinks he can beat Alyssa? So do you keep Alyssa in the game just because that's one more person that you think you can beat in order to win veto? Or do you get her out the door and potentially have to go up against Turner or Taylor in that veto competition? I don't know. I know he thinks he's got a better shot against Alyssa, but the other thing too, I don't think that Monty wants to put Taylor at risk by putting her on the block out of fear that Turner and Alyssa could then team up against, Alyssa can't vote, that Brittany and Turner could vote out Taylor. I just don't think he wants to put Taylor at risk of potentially going home this week, because if Taylor does go home, then you do have Turner and Alyssa together. Are Monty and Brittany going to work together? Is it going to be a 2-on-2 of Brittany and Monty versus Turner and Alyssa? I don't think so. I think at that point in time, if that was to happen, if Taylor somehow went home, then Monty they'd have to go after Brittany, have a final three of Turner and Alyssa and Monty, and then I think Monty worries about Turner maybe taking Alyssa over himself. So all that being said, I don't know that he puts Taylor at risk by putting her on the block this week. Does he convince Turner that, hey, guaranteed you're a pawn. You're not going anywhere, my friend. You're safe. So Turner, I'm just doing it to make sure that it works out the way. Does he do that and send out Alyssa? Perhaps. If he puts Turner on the block, well, then Turner can't vote to save Alyssa. So it seems like a pretty good certainty that Alyssa would go home at that point in time. But then he has to deal with the repercussions that he put Turner up. Does Turner win veto and then put Monty up? I don't know. There's a lot to be discussed. It's going to be a fun weekend until the veto ceremony is on Monday. And because they had the veto so early in the morning, we've got all day today for these house guests to talk about it. We've got all day Sunday for the house guests to talk about it. They're going to be throwing each other under the bus, incredibly so. Brittany, now that she's safe, who knows what kind of deals and alliances she's going to try to make. Brittany runs very hot and cold. When she's at risk, we've got sad Brittany. When she's safe, we have very confident, very arrogant Brittany. Yeah, Brittany's going to feel like she's running the show at this point in time, and I'm curious to see what kind of deal she works with, who she wants to work with going forward. We're going to find all of that out today, or a lot of it anyway. And I will be back tomorrow to give you the recap of all the consequences of today's veto victory. So with that, guys, y'all have a fantastic Saturday. Giga Maggie's college football's going on. Excited for that. But I'll be watching the feeds over in the corner as well. Y'all have a fantastic Saturday, guys. I will see y'all tomorrow morning, give you the recap of what happened overnight. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.